Hey, Jamie and Mick are two blokes who've been friends since childhood, and they met at music camp and share a love of tech and computer programming. They're also both blind. What's come out of their friendship is something extraordinary that has transformed the lives of many people all over the world.
Over my life, I have had many members of the public come up to me and tell me straight to my face that they could not imagine being blind.
Most of the time I feel like blindness is just part of my life and I get on with it. I have a full-time job, I'm a software engineer, I have 2 kids, I have a wife. But there are days when, I'll be really honest, there are days when it's a real struggle and I want to scream at the universe and ask, why this had to happen.
So we've just come out to the check-in counter now. We've got Tristan.
An airport terminal for a blind person is a very interesting place because it is so large. It's very hard to really get a good sense of where you are within this gigantic space. There's just so much noise from all the travellers and people and suitcases around you, echoing off the floor and the walls. It sometimes just feels like walking through space.
The other one is from Auckland to Samoa. All good.
We're heading to Samoa to meet the people at the Samoan Blind People's Association to learn more about how we can work together to ensure good access to technology.
Mick and Jamie developed software that has enabled blind people worldwide to access education. It's really that simple and that amazing.
The fact that they themselves were blind is an inspiration for us who are blind, so that we can strive more to improve our communities.
Yeah, you have the drinks menu, so you can pick your drink what you want.
I think that blind people have the capacity to help our own kind. I don't think we always do need to rely on sighted people. Blind people, if they get together and be role models for each other, I think great things can come of that.
So if I wanted to do
The awesome thing about Jamie and Mick's friendship is that it spans basically a lifetime.
separately because it would be too hard, otherwise I have to edit every single note. Right.
They are always just so happy to catch up and play music and nerd out on different things.
I think it was music that brought Jamie and I together, but it was also the love of technology.
I'm cornered, you're not having that take. Technology, perhaps more than anything else in the world, levels the playing field for people with disabilities. So many things become possible that weren't possible before.
Action strikes. Allergist keys.
Action strikes.
Action strikes.
My overall dream is that I can pick up a computer and use it as soon as I get home. And so we designed software that we've made free, which allows blind and vision impaired people to access computers.
Here's the cool thing, we can edit, we can change that.
It was absolutely life-changing because it meant that people could suddenly access everything that the internet has to offer for free.
LPS epic organic elements. So LPS epic.
I think Jamie and I are probably both very fortunate people. We had wonderful opportunities to go out and make a mark on the world.
I had a pretty normal pregnancy with Mick, but when he was born, they took him from me after a quick cuddle to the Royal Children's Hospital. We were told he was born with only one eye, and that wasn't formed properly. He couldn't eat, and they had to suction out saliva because his esophagus wasn't joined. The surgeon said, I really would love to operate on him straight away. We'll try and fix this. So Of course, I said yes. And that was a massive operation to go in. Michael cried a lot because I think he was in a lot more pain than we knew then. But he was resilient.
I was born in Brisbane to a pretty ordinary family. My mum is, Australian. My dad is Malaysian Chinese.
Jamie was our third child. He was born fine, except I was noticing that he just wasn't focusing on me.
We took Jamie to the ophthalmologist and he said he's got a problem with his eyes. And I remember saying to him, can't you fix his cross eyes? And he then said to me, it could be worse than that, Terry. And I said, what could be worse? Is he blind? And he said, might even be worse. And that's when he told us that he had bad tumours in both eyes. Apparently the cancer's so aggressive that he could have died within a few weeks.
Then we were told, it's either nucleate both the eyes, which means take the eyes out, or he said we can do radiation. But he said if it starts up, it's only got like about a half an inch or an inch before it's in the brain. And he said once it hits the brain, they're dead. I thought for the sake of saving his life, it had to be his eyes, because I wanted him alive no matter what. I didn't care what he was as long as he was alive. So, and I think Terry was the same, wasn't she? And I was sobbing and Jamie started laughing in the cot. He was giggling his head off because he could hear me with this funny sound sort of thing. And I went and picked him up and I thought, well, darling, if you can laugh, then we'll laugh too. So that's how we sort of got on with it.
Before Michael turned 5, he probably had about 7 major operations, stomach and chest.
He had some sight. It wasn't very good. It was very, very blurry. And I guess very early on, we weren't too sure about how much he could see.
I may have been, I think, the youngest child in Victoria to have a cornea transplant. Pretty exciting for me as a 4.5-year-old to have that little bit of fame.
My name's Michael Curran. I'm 7 and this is the lounge room. And you can see all the pictures of me in the magazine.
The transplant improved his sight dramatically.
My glasses.
He could read, albeit very big letters, but or being very, very close to something. He could sit and watch television. Very, very close, right up against the TV. He had an absolute new lease on life.
And that's the usual way of going downstairs. I've practiced this song for weeks and weeks.
Generally, my parents didn't protect me, didn't wrap me up in cotton wool.
Okay, Dad, over here.
They let me play and explore and live like a regular child.
And I'll do one more because I'm
I was only 3 months old when I had my first eye removed, and then my second eye was removed at 6 months. I would trip over things or run into things. My parents were very sympathetic, but they also made it very clear to me that this was also the world that I lived in. I have 2 artificial eyes, so both my eyes are removable. Initially, the eyes that they gave me are quite heavy and unwieldy, and apparently I used to just force them out of my head because I didn't like them.
He would invariably take them out when we were in the shop. One day I'm in the glass area and I looked at him, no eyes. I thought, oh, Jamie, where are they? And I looked everywhere for them. And this girl came over to me and she said, can I help you? Have you lost something? I thought, well, how do I tell her I'm looking for a pair of eyes? So I can't do that.
He was in about grade 4 and we had bought a second-hand computer. Jamie said to me that he wanted to learn how to do basic programming. So I bought an old book for programming. And over a period of a week or so, I read to him the whole book. And there were 100 questions in the whole book. Jamie got 3 wrong out of the 100. I thought, come on, this guy is really, really so smart.
When Michael was 15, he was very independent. He was in high school. He was doing well. But the ophthalmologist was saying, yeah, it looks like you're not seeing as well. Maybe we could try and do another corneal transplant. That got Mick's attention, and he's like, well, yeah, I've had so many operations. I've had, a cornea before that worked. Let's go for it.
They were honest and told me that there was probably a 70% chance of success. As a teenage boy, I heard 100%. I did not process that at all as a risk. I think in my mind I was thinking perhaps I might even be almost fully sighted. I remember seeing my parents for the last time and what they were wearing, and went in to have the surgery.
They came out quite quickly and just said, I'm very, very sorry, we've got bad news. As soon as we operated, his retina hemorrhaged. There's just nothing we can do. The first thing Michael said to me was, did they put a lens in? And I said, this is one of the hardest things I think I've ever had to do. I said, no, they didn't put a lens in. I said, you've got no vision, that's it. And he just was silent.
I guess I felt just completely numb and disconnected. I don't think I was processing it emotionally. And in fact, if I ever saw someone else processing it emotionally, that was really hard for me to deal with, because it's like all the scaffolding around me that's holding me up is suddenly starting to fall.
He said, you have to stop crying, get over it. This is what it is, and we're moving on, basically. And when we heard that, it was like a light bulb went on and things lifted from my shoulders, that for him to say that to us meant he was moving on.
I think what brought me out of my depression was identifying and throwing myself into skills that I already had and enjoyed doing. So when I was 16, I decided to go back to music camp. And that's where I ran into Jamie.
Mick and I first met at the Braille Music Camp in 1994. I was 9 and Mick was 10.
We got along very good right from the beginning. And it was just sort of amazing to go back there. And with Jamie and I, it was like we'd never left each other. So.
Well, you didn't have any vision anymore at that point.
Yes.
So it was a different experience of the camp.
Very different experience. I mean, because back in '94, my very first camp, I was guiding you around a great deal, and then suddenly I come back to music camp and Jamie was guiding me.
There's a blind leading the blind joke in there somewhere. We both had this clear fascination with technology.
For a blind person to use a computer, you need a screen reader, which is essentially software which reads the text on the computer screen in synthetic speech.
Screen reading program translates the written text displayed on the screen for the voice.
That screen reading software cost a lot of money. It was between $1,000 and $2,000.
Like websites or applications via audio or touch.
We couldn't afford to just get it, and unless we had some help from his grandparents on occasion for things, we had to go through charities and stuff.
Why should a blind person have to pay an extra $1,000 in order to use a computer to the same extent as a sighted person? It was in the back of our minds, especially my mind, that, wouldn't it be cool if we could have a free screen reader that all blind people could use.
When the camp ended, we were able to stay in contact and our lives continued to move on in parallel. We both went to university, both studied computing. We both met our partners during or shortly after university.
So Jamie and I met at this party. We sat and we chatted for hours, and then eventually at one point I turned to my friend on the other side of me and went, "Oh, I think he might be blind." And she went, "Yeah, do you think so?"
I can't believe you're 21, Mick. I'm very excited about you gaining all this independence, moving out, all this.
I first met Mick at Young Blind Citizens Victoria. We were both kind of, I think, coming into our late teens and quite involved in the blindness community.
Amy is also vision impaired, but not totally blind. And we would have wonderful, deep conversations about how we were going to change the world and make it better for blind children and things like that.
Amy, wear this ring.
We decided to get married and to start having children as well.
She's coming. Keep going, Hannah. You walk to Dada. Good girl.
It was actually holding their youngest as a little tiny newborn baby that made me think, oh, actually, I think we need to have one of these.
Keep turning.
What, Leo? And so, as it turns out, we ended up moving within 5 minutes of each other. Having been, in different parts of the country for so long, suddenly Jamie and Mick were just up the road. Dad's at the same school.
After university, I went to work full-time in a computer programming job. Mick was volunteering on blindness advocacy.
I was on a blind pension. I wanted to try my hand at writing free screen reading software. I named the software NVDA, which stands for Non-Visual Desktop Access. Very early on, I decided to make it open source, which essentially means that anyone can look at all the computer code if they want to, and they can contribute to the project if they have the expertise on how to. Jamie was watching from the sidelines, but slowly he started taking some more interest.
I was working on NVDA in my lunch breaks, contributing things here and there, and Mick would be like, "Are you getting any work done at all?"
It sort of got to a point where we were actually recognised by the Mozilla Foundation, who said, we want this to take off. We want to support your screen reader project. What can we do to help you? And Mick was, without hesitating, just said, "I need to hire Jamie." The night before the actual first board meeting of NV Access Limited, he knew that if he could get Jamie on board full time, then it would actually get somewhere a lot faster. This is the board hard at work.
And so it was around that time we created NV Access, which is a not-for-profit company, now a registered Australian charity.
We work hard, we play hard.
To support and protect the NVDA product.
So what I'm doing here is I'm using NVDA on my Windows computer to fix a bug in some code, searching for things to try to find what I need. What you can hear is NVDA speaking very, very fast at about 900 words a minute, reading the information on the screen to me. Not the whole screen at once, but the information that's relevant at the time. I'm not necessarily listening to every word. It's almost like when you read a document or when you're skimming your email as a sighted person, you're not necessarily reading every single word, and that's kind of how it is. So it's saying, perhaps this doesn't perhaps this doesn't cause reflow, so we don't get notified the bounds might have changed, though this needs to be verified. This also applies to animating position properties. And there's a bunch of code.
Please welcome from Brisbane, James Tay. Hey, James.
We spent the first few years of work on the project just, grinding away to get it from an idea to something that people were actually using.
The New Inventors is all about inventions and inventors.
It wasn't really, I guess, until we started receiving emails from people overseas, whether it be from Brazil or Slovakia, asking whether they could, translate it and use it in their country. I think that's what really made us start to realise just how important this project was and was, and was going to be.
NVDA is now depended upon by tens of thousands of blind people across the world, spanning 120 countries. Surveys suggest that it is now the second most used screen reader in the world.
Do you have the device?
Yes, I have the dot pad device.
When they first started out, it was real bootstrap operations.
Like, is it heavier than a laptop? I've never seen it.
No.
One of the major funders has been Mozilla, and Microsoft have also contributed. But also donations from individuals, from small businesses, from other companies, and other grants like that.
Keep going straight ahead. It is the only screen reader in the world that's made by blind people for blind people. It's really opened doors for people with vision impairment.
There's 3 steps up. We're ready to go.
Perfect.
So there's a sliding.
Is this a slidey?
There's a constant stream of inquiries as to how companies can work with us.
A, B, C, D, F, G, H, K.
My name is Key. I'm from Dot Inc. So we are making smart devices for the visually impaired, like a dot pad.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Dot Inc. are from South Korea. They've engaged us to make sure that we can, get a working, functional graphic rail display that can be used widely within the world to help out in education.
There's numbers here.
Yes, there's a numbers. So going from... I think it has some great potential for blind people on how they access graphical materials. But there's still a long way to go.
Countries.
Is it doing good, right?
Yeah. I'm happy.
In the last couple of months, an opportunity's come up for Mick and I to visit Samoa. We really don't know very much about how blind people in Samoa live. The little that we do know is that they are getting into learning Braille and trying to make sure that blind people can be included in education.
So in working together with NVDA plus this machine, everyone at the Samoan Blind Persons Association knows about Jamie and Mick's story. So it was a very great honor for us just to host them.
So Ari, how long have you been using NVDA here to produce documents? It's run entirely by blind people, so it's by blind people for blind people. It's pretty much the same kind of thing that Jamie and I have always strived for.
So you edit in Word?
Yeah, edit in Word using NVDA.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
We were able to demonstrate to them our work using NVDA to edit documents and translate them into Braille and run them through the Braille printer.
Index Braille.
Things like notes for students in schools, menus, right up to, high-level documents that are produced by the United Nations.
Yeah.
And that's why NVDA is very essential. This is the house of young Harry Harima. Unfortunately, he left school for some personal reasons in July of last year. He's hoping to go back to school this year. So we've delivered to him his basic science and also Samoan language notes.
I can really appreciate just how hard it is for someone like Harry. When I lost my vision as a 15-year-old, I really locked myself away from the world. I required help from various people, including blindness services. But as a teenager, I really didn't want any of that. I was struggling so much with just losing my vision. And so any help that people can provide teenagers like Harry in regards to making school that little bit easier, less barriers, is a great thing and will really help.
He's so smart, and he is the future of this organisation. And that's why we try very hard to keep working together with him.
He says that he wants to work for the Samoa Blind Persons Association. I say, why? I say,
We know about the impact of our work, but we don't always get to see it firsthand. We don't get to see the impact that it has. We've made some great strides forward. But I think Samoa is very much at the start of their journey in terms of integrating technology for blind people.
Okay, are you guys ready? Do you have your order?
No, we haven't read the...
We need to make sure that there's more technology going into Samoa, such as laptops. And that will require partnerships, I think, with other on-the-ground organisations.
There's a fair bit of work for us to try and do, but I think Jamie and Mick being here and just having that initial conversation would lead to good things in the future.
We've got the pizzas here. There's one on the left and one on the right. Then we've got ham.
Over the years, many people, including his family, have said there could be opportunity to sell this or do something to make some money out of it.
This is how we make pizza.
And he's like, no, 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 this is not what I wanted this for.
There needs to be a free open source screen reader for blind people around the world, and we are never ever going to sacrifice that.
So you lie on your back and then you grab your legs and then you go.
NVDA has been, apart from my own children, has been my baby.
No, I don't think so.
Jamie as well, of course.
I used to be able to do my... Where are you sitting, kiddos?
I stepped away to look at other opportunities.
You're sitting here?
I'm still on the board though, and very much involved in steering the project and contributing where I can.
I guess I'll sit here then.
Terry used to worry that Jamie would be the one that wouldn't get married and that, he wouldn't have a job. And I used to say to him, you might find he'll be the one that does better than the rest of them, which he's proved to do.
Why didn't you ask your first question?
So we are proud of him.
What is it?
That's your pizza.
Oh, lovely, thank you. I made it myself.
Watching this over the last however many years, it just completely blows my mind, but doesn't surprise me. No matter what obstacle is thrown in along the way, he's going to get over it. That's just what Mick does. And that's what he's always done.
We just sort of know what each other's thinking. And
I'm very proud that I can give back, or give forward the gift that I had been given of, firstly, life, to be honest, and the chance to succeed.
We'll have to catch up with him at some point.
Yeah, he lives 5 minutes down the street.